What's up, guys? Got another video here with Andrew Bustamante on the Charlie Kirk situation. This for entertainment purposes only. Let's get straight to the video.
Put together his gun, dismantle his gun, get away, and so on. The weird text messaging with his transitioning boyfriend and so on. What do you make of it all? Do you think there are unanswered questions with this? Does it make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely there are unanswered questions. It doesn't make sense to me completely, and I think that's why there are conspiracy theories that are popping up around the shooting. The problem is that, like so much of what happens in the real world, there are areas that are protected, areas of information that are not available to the public, so the public doesn't get a full picture. You were just talking about the emergence of new media. Part of the unexpected or possibly unproductive side effect of that new media is that we now know more of what we don't know.
Yes.
Whereas in the past, when we didn't know, we didn't even realize we had a gap of information.
What is the stuff, when you look at that shooting, what's the stuff where you, with your former CIA hat on, go, that's a bit weird?
Creators, take these 3 apps I built to run my business made with Base 44. They're ready for you.
So first of all, the fact that there's really no significant new information since about September 19th, that's fucking weird, man. Right? Like, how is this so significant that we're having national days of silence for Charlie Kirk? How is it so significant that it's making International Media Day after day, but we can't get new information? We still don't know what the motive was. We're having people like the transgender roommate / lover disappear, and nobody's talking to him, and there doesn't seem to be a large manhunt.
No, I don't think there's an autopsy report yet. I don't think we've had an autopsy.
Exactly. So this is information that doesn't seem unreasonable to share, and yet it's not being shared. So the question becomes why. There's lots of legitimate reasons why it wouldn't be shared yet, but that's not good enough for us with our current appetite.
From a technical point of view about the shooting itself, a 22-year-old is not military trained to be able to get up on that roof, put together a gun, then dismantle it, fire off one shot with a bolt-action rifle that belonged to his grandfather, reportedly, and get away. But to be able to assassinate somebody in that clinical manner, does that seem likely, or is there something we don't know about what this kid was doing before all this?
We look at everything in intelligence through a lens of probability. Anything is a possibility, but what are the probabilities that it played out the way that we're being told? So when I think of his age, and I think about the fact that he grew up in a hunting family, and I think about the fact that he was familiar with that particular weapon, he was familiar with the campus. He had what we call the advantage of area familiarity, area fam. He had all of those benefits that Charlie and Charlie's team did not have. Plus, of course, he had the element of surprise on his side. But when it comes to the technical elements of being able to handle that weapon, I tend to agree more with Rob. It doesn't make sense. How, unless he spent hours in premeditation assembling and disassembling his gun, he already had his ingress and his egress route planned. He already knew where he was going to stash the weapon. He had a plan to succeed. His dad is the reason his plan to disappear ultimately didn't succeed. And that was obviously a variable he didn't account for. So is it possible that he prepared to the extent that he needed to prepare to run such an effective operation? Yeah, it's possible. But is it probable that he did it alone? It's not really probable that one 22-year-old would be able to figure all of that out.
And to fire one shot and be successful in your mission.
Yeah. I mean, arguably, you can see that he hadn't trained for the shot distance, because while he did shoot Charlie in a fatal location, it's unlikely he was aiming for that specific location. So there are certain elements that highlight he was amateur as a professional killer. A Navy SEAL like Rob wouldn't make a mistake like that. Wouldn't see that tumble and not predict it.
Right. I mean, Rob had a lot of questions, but one of which was just the amount of time it took him, like you said, to assemble and disassemble. He said he didn't think he could do it in the time that they believed this boy did it. And it's interesting because the only equivalent kind of story in the last few years where there are even more unanswered questions is the young person who has tried to assassinate Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
From a similar route, from a similar distance, about whom we seem to know absolutely nothing. I mean, even the guy on the golf course, we know a bit more because he defended himself and everything else. But that original shooter remains just so weird. Like this kid had no digital footprint, nothing. From a CIA point of view, when you encounter that, where someone tries to assassinate the President of the United States or a very high-profile figure, and when you dig into it, for a young person to have no digital footprint whatsoever, that to me is very, very odd.
Absolutely, there's hidden information there without a doubt. It's funny, my mind worked very similar to yours, Piers, when I started to research the elements that made up the Charlie Kirk assassination. I immediately was triggered to look back at Thomas Crooks, the one who tried to kill Donald Trump when he was on the campaign in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
The parallels are very, very powerful, very humbling, right? You're talking about similar age groups. You're talking about high levels of intelligence. You're talking about a level of emotional IQ that made them actually well-liked in their community.
Right.
CIA believes that all people are born with a spy secret superpower. For some people that means they can win deals, for others they can spot liars. Some can even seduce lovers. I built a free 3-minute test to help review is click on the link % of people.
Maybe they didn't. They certainly were able to carry out something dangerous, but could they have done it alone? We don't know. But even now, when you research Thomas Crooks, even now, there's still no motive assigned.
There's nothing.
There's still no public information. Now, the person he tried to assassinate, of all the people in the country, if you're trying to kill the president, you should be an open book to the American people, unless there's something you don't want the American people to know.
Well, and of course it goes right back to JFK and the unanswered questions there and everything else. And, you know, I've had a lot of people on talking about the JFK files, and you just think, will we ever find out? But do you think we ever will? Will we ever know for sure?
In the world of intelligence, in my experience, when there's something that is damaging to the idea of the American government, the idea of the structure that we have, the specificity of how we carry out our operations, when something is butting up against those areas of information, we'll never know. Because it's not in the government's best interest to actually be transparent with the people. It's in the government's best interest to tailor and cultivate what's released, and that includes cultivating and tailoring what isn't released.
I had Oliver Stone on, the filmmaker, with his son last week, talking about the RFK assassination and how he was certain, they've done a documentary about this, he was certain that was a CIA inside job. Did you ever hear anything about that when you
The RFK assassination is another interesting example of where information is missing, and what's left doesn't stack up. The pre-2001 CIA, pre-9/11 CIA is a very different beast than the CIA I grew up in. And one of the things that they teach us when we go through our onboarding is how different and kind of Wild West, unsupervised, very reckless that previous CIA was. It was born of the time, at the time it was needed, and it was kind of ignored for 30 years before any significant oversight was applied to it. So could they have been involved? I don't put anything beyond what CIA, without oversight, could have done, especially considering it only falls under the Office of the Executive, which just implies that at some point in time it would want to shape the Office of the Executive. And that is exactly why the JFK assassination is so interesting.
Whenever I interview people like you, the most popular response from viewers is there's no such thing as former CIA. And that even if I say to you, are you still in the CIA? Well, why would you tell me anyway?
It's a very valid point. There is no such thing as former CIA. There's no such thing as retired military. The fact that we served once means that at the drop of a dime, at the call, we will serve again. And I'm not trying to hide that, and I'm not trying to say anything else. But there's a difference between being favorably disposed, dedicated, loyal to the mission, versus being controlled by the mission today. And when people say, I think what they're implying is that I'm still part of CIA. I am most certainly not part of CIA. CIA is not my friend. They are very publicly not my friend. I get letters from them all the time reminding me to get off screen because I have no business being on screen, and threatening me with legal action if I overstep the boundary of my secrecy agreement. So people don't see that part. They just see me on camera.
Your book,
Well, that was Andrew Bustamante's take on the Charlie Kirk assassination, saying there's no way that kid could have done it by himself. But did you notice that clip cut once he asked him that question about Are you XCI? Are you? There's no such thing as XCIA. You notice how they clip cut? It's very interesting. I'm using this information under the Fair Use Act. Like, subscribe to the channel. Check out my other content. This is for entertainment purposes only. Y'all have a good day till the next clip.